Michael Fertik, the CEO of Reputation.com. Michael, more and more pundits are talking about something called the reputation economy. Is that a term you're comfortable with? And if you are, what does it mean?
Well, we live in a reputation economy, and we're coming to acknowledge a reputation economy. I'm not comfortable with it. I'm ecstatic about it. I'm ecstatic that the pundits are catching up to reality.
What is it?
I hope they keep talking about it, whatever it is, for many years.
But you must have an idea of what it is when you use the term.
I have a point of view that the reputation economy is a reflection of the fact, the reality that 75% of economic value is actually tied up in reputation. That's not my number, by the way. That's the Economist Intelligence Unit's number. When it comes to corporate reputation, they say that 75% of a corporation's reputation is tied up, value rather, is tied up in reputation. And I'd hazard the same statement about a person or a thing or a company or an office, whatever it is, a location, a big business, a small business.
What other people think of?
Right. What people think of you, what do people think of the thing, right? So some people used to call this brand, right? You could say cola, or you could say Coca-Cola, and Coca-Cola wins because it's got brand, and it's got a brand that people know and understand and love. But I think that reputation is bigger, and it applies to more things in the internet of everything that is now emerging. So more or less in our daily lives every day, without thinking about it, we understand that there are little reputation credits that we trade for different transactions in our lives. So if you're going to give a recommendation for somebody for a job, you understand that your reputation is on the line in giving that recommendation, and you may very carefully construct that recommendation to not only enhance that person's reputation, we hope, because you're giving a recommendation, but also to enhance and preserve your reputation because you want to give a credible, bankable recommendation to the person you're talking to, right? In any kind of decision we make, when it's dating, profession, employment, romance, just simple retail shopping, we know that we are trading on our reputation, or we are trading on, the counterparty is trading on his or her reputation. Now, how do you actually quantify that? So it has never been possible at scale to quantify reputation the way it is today because of all the information, all the data points that are flowing out there on the web, and because of all the machines we have that are now enabling us to quantify reputation. This is the next step in a natural evolution. So if phase one of the socioeconomy was kind of the small village where reputation was everything, or status in the small village was everything, right? And then reputation informed status. And then we went to the society got too big. We went to, let's say, guilds, right? So guilds were a form of reputation currency, right? If you were part of the guild, you were a reasonably good carpenter or a reasonably good banker or something like this, right, in the Middle Ages. Then we moved to a form of a period of time in which actual physical currency, right, coin of the realm, was our reputation. If you brought a whole suitcase of currency, then you had enough reputation credits to do the business. And now we understand that cash currency is just one type of actual currency, and that when we do business with people, there are so many more interesting and nuanced pieces of information that go into a currency of reputation. The only score that matters in America today, after you basically go to college, your SAT, after you go to college, the only score that matters today is your FICO score, your credit rating. And if you look at it, sort of plus or minus, the credit rating has been stale, unchanging, and based on the same data sets for like 40 years, right? And yet it is the number one and essential and ineluctable, unavoidable data point that informs whether you can buy a car, whether you can buy a house, whether you can transact business, and so forth. That's nuts, right? It's nuts that we're relying on this arcane, archaic data point for something that's so vital for our daily lives. It needs to be replaced by a reputation credit or reputation currency.
And this, of course, would be an internet-centric one. Would it be like Clout or Peer Index?
So I think Clout and Peer Index are like eBay's reputation scores, right, or Amazon reseller scores, very interesting and useful individual discrete components of what will end up being your reputation on the internet. And the more that things like Peer Index and Clout and eBay reseller scores appear, the more informed we will be and the more nuanced our scoring can be in the internet.
What do you make of Empire Avenue?
I don't know Empire Avenue.
It's a stock market for reputations.
Well, good. I mean, I think that we have a stock market for reputations. In Hollywood, we've called it, I think, the Q score, right? Called the Q score. And if this star's Q score is going up, he or she is more bankable. That kind of thing is reasonably inevitable for everybody, and I would say everything. And so the more math that we get throwing at this problem, and the more data that we can get to constitute the conclusions, the platform for the conclusions we're making, the more powerful it'll be. Reputation is part of two things. One is authentication, knowing that you are actually our Andrew Keen. That's a hard problem, right? Maybe not in your case because you're well known, but in the average person's case, very difficult. And on the internet, everybody's Andrew Keen. And you might be a dog, right, on the internet. And number two, after authentication, qualification, right? So now we know it's you. How good are you? By the way, by context. So you might be X as a businessman, Y as a writer, C as a tenant, D as a landlord, right? So there are all these different interesting nuances that will start to emerge in the coming years, and we will start to see a lot of sci-fi says that reputation will just replace currency in in a billion years or 100
And could
years.
reputation.com be the index? Have you ever thought of doing an index?
We spend a lot of time. We've had a full-time R&D team for years, PhDs in everything from robotics to sentiment analysis to statistics to physics to mathematics. We're hiring an economist right now. We've got a full-on R&D team, and we've been spending a lot of time for a long time trying to figure out interesting and nuanced scoring systems and reputation systems. Yes.